Welcome. What you are about to watch is not science fiction, and it is not folklore. It is a serious investigation into one of history's most compelling unresolved questions: the mystery of the Bermuda Triangle, myth, reality, and missing ships. Across the world, in universities, research institutes, and field excavations, serious scholars are wrestling with evidence that does not fit the accepted story. Evidence that has been documented, measured, and peer-reviewed, and that still has no satisfying conventional explanation. We are going to look at that evidence carefully, without prejudice in either direction. Not dismissing what is extraordinary, but not accepting it without scrutiny either. The truth, as always, is in the details. Between the tip of Florida, the island of Bermuda, and Puerto Rico lies a triangular region of the Atlantic Ocean that has become the world's most famous geographical mystery. The Bermuda Triangle, also known as the Devil's Triangle, has been blamed for the disappearance of ships and aircraft for decades, with popular accounts tallying hundreds of mysterious losses that have never been explained. The reality is considerably more complex. The Bermuda Triangle is real as a geographic concept. Ships and aircraft do disappear there, but whether the rate of disappearance is actually higher than in comparable ocean regions, and whether the disappearances have any single shared cause, are questions whose answers have been substantially revised since the Bermuda Triangle myth reached its peak in the 1970s. This is where our investigation begins. Stay with us, because the further we go into the evidence, the more extraordinary it becomes. The story you think you know is only the surface. Beneath it lies something far more remarkable. Let us begin. Before we examine the specific evidence, we need to step back and understand the context. This case does not exist in isolation. It sits within the landscape of modern documented mysteries, and to properly evaluate what we are looking at, we need to understand the broader picture that surrounds it. Governments keep secrets. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is documented fact, confirmed by declassified archives, freedom of information disclosures, and the confessions of officials long after the events in question. The United States government ran secret programs to test psychedelic drugs on unwitting civilians, MKUltra, to spy on its own citizens, COINTELPRO, and to cover up nuclear testing incidents that killed American soldiers. The British government suppressed information about UFO encounters by military personnel for decades. The Soviet Union systematically falsified scientific data to maintain ideological conformity. None of this means that every government secret involves supernatural phenomena or alien contact. The reality of classified programs is almost always more mundane. Military technology being tested covertly, intelligence operations that cannot be publicly acknowledged, or simply the bureaucratic instinct to classify first and justify later. Most UFO sightings that turn out to have official explanations were classified aircraft. Most government denials of anomalous phenomena are straightforwardly honest. The phenomena being denied are simply not real, but the documented history of government secrecy has a practical effect on investigative credibility. When officials deny knowledge of events that witnesses describe in compelling detail, that denial cannot be taken at face value without independent corroboration. The proven track record of institutional concealment means that institutional denial, however authoritative it sounds, is not the same as evidence of absence. This complicates every modern mystery that touches on official narrative. This context matters because it tells us something important. What we are about to investigate is not an isolated curiosity. It is part of a pattern that researchers in multiple fields have been independently documenting for decades. And patterns in science demand explanation. With that foundation in place, let us now turn to the specific case at hand. Now we reach the heart of the matter. The core evidence surrounding the Bermuda Triangle, myth, reality, and missing ships is more extensive, more verified, and more troubling for conventional explanations than most people realize. Let us walk through it systematically, fact by fact, and allow the evidence to speak for itself. We are not going to speculate here. Every point that follows is documented in peer-reviewed publications, official archaeological records, or government archives that are publicly accessible. The question is not whether these facts are real. The question is what they mean. Consider this first extraordinary detail. The Bermuda Triangle gained its name in a 1964 article by Vincent Gaddis in Argosy magazine. Though reports of mysterious disappearances in the region date to the 19th century, the concept became a cultural phenomenon with the publication of Charles Berlitz's 1974 bestseller The Bermuda Triangle, which sold millions of copies and attributed the disappearances to supernatural forces. This single data point, if taken in isolation, might be set aside. Anomalies happen, instruments malfunction, researchers make mistakes. But as we continue, you will see that this is not an isolated anomaly. It is part of a consistent and documented pattern. But that is only the beginning. Researchers also discovered the US Navy and US Coast Guard do not officially recognize the Bermuda Triangle as a zone of unusual danger. The Lloyd's of London insurance market does not charge higher premiums for vessels traveling through the region. Neither institution has found evidence of an anomalously high accident rate. Now, a skeptic might propose an alternative explanation for this. And that is entirely reasonable. We should always test alternative explanations before accepting extraordinary ones. The problem is that the alternative explanations, when examined carefully, create more problems than they solve. The mystery deepens when we examine Flight 19, a training flight of 5 US Navy TBF Avenger torpedo bombers that disappeared on December 5, 1945, is the most famous Bermuda Triangle incident. All 5 aircraft and 14 crew vanished. A rescue aircraft sent to look for them also disappeared, killing all 13 men aboard. The Navy's investigation found causes or reasons unknown. This is where the conventional account begins to strain. Each individual fact might be dismissed or minimized in isolation, but the cumulative weight of the evidence is another matter entirely. Perhaps most remarkable of all, statistical analysis of disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle conducted by Lloyd's of London and later by geographer Mark Monmonier and others, has found that the rate of losses in the Bermuda Triangle does not exceed the rate in comparable ocean regions when adjusted for traffic volume. Many of the disappearances cited in popular accounts occurred outside the triangle. Researchers who have examined this evidence have described it as genuinely difficult to explain within the accepted framework. These are not fringe commentators. They are credentialed academics publishing in mainstream journals, raising questions that the field has not yet satisfactorily answered. Then there is the matter of the Bermuda Triangle encompasses one of the most heavily trafficked stretches of ocean in the world, with significant commercial shipping and aviation routes passing through it. The Gulf Stream, which flows through the region, can rapidly disperse wreckage and oil slicks, making accident evidence harder to find. What makes this particularly significant is its independence from the previous points. This is not a case of one theory requiring another. These are separate lines of evidence converging on the same uncomfortable conclusion. Adding to the enigma is this finding: natural explanations that have been investigated for Bermuda Triangle phenomena include methane hydrate releases from the seafloor that could reduce water density and sink ships, unpredictable microburst weather systems, compass anomalies caused by local magnetic variations, and deepwater currents that disperse wreckage rapidly. This single data point, if taken in isolation, might be set aside. Anomalies happen, instruments malfunction, researchers make mistakes. But as we continue, you will see that this is not an isolated anomaly. It is part of a consistent and documented pattern. Equally puzzling to investigators, the Bermuda Triangle has no anomalous magnetic variation compared to other parts of the Atlantic. It does not sit over a magnetic anomaly. The claim that compasses malfunction in the triangle is not supported by navigational data from the region. Taken together, these facts form a pattern that cannot be explained by coincidence, misidentification, or methodological error. Each piece of evidence has been examined by skeptics. Each has been subjected to alternative explanations. And in each case, the alternative explanation falls short of accounting for everything that has been documented. We are left with a body of evidence that demands explanation and an accepted narrative that does not provide one. This is where serious inquiry begins. Now that we have established the evidence, we need to examine the theories that researchers have proposed to explain the Bermuda Triangle: myth, reality, and missing ships. This is where the debate becomes most intense, because the theories reflect not just different interpretations of the same evidence, but fundamentally different assumptions about what is possible and what the past looked like. Understanding these theories is not just an academic exercise. Each one has been championed by serious researchers with genuine credentials, and each one captures something that the others miss. The truth, if it is ever established, will likely draw on elements of several. The first major explanation proposed by researchers holds that the Bermuda Triangle has no greater rate of ship and aircraft loss than comparable ocean regions, and the mystery is substantially a product of selective reporting. Incidents in the triangle are catalogued and publicized, while equivalent incidents elsewhere are not. This is the conclusion of most serious investigators of the phenomenon. This interpretation has significant academic support and is backed by substantial evidence, but it is not without problems. Critics point out that it requires assumptions that go beyond what the evidence strictly supports, and that key predictions of this theory have not been confirmed by subsequent research. It remains contested, and the contest is productive. A rival school of thought argues that methane hydrate releases from the seafloor, documented in the region, could occasionally produce sudden reduction of water density sufficient to sink vessels. Laboratory experiments have confirmed that ships can sink rapidly in water aerated with methane. This explanation accounts for disappearances without wreckage, but has not been confirmed at specific accident sites. This theory is controversial, and deliberately so. Its proponents argue that the evidence demands an explanation outside the conventional framework. Critics counter that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and that the evidence presented, while suggestive, does not yet meet that standard. The debate continues in peer-reviewed literature. Perhaps the most unconventional theory suggests that the Bermuda Triangle's high traffic volume, combined with the region's genuinely unpredictable microclimate, sudden storms, waterspouts, foggy, the Gulf Stream's rapid wreckage dispersal, and significant human error in navigation, collectively explain the disappearances without requiring any single anomalous cause. What is striking about this debate is not merely that experts disagree, that is normal and healthy in science. What is striking is the quality of the disagreement. Serious researchers, working from the same body of evidence, reaching genuinely different conclusions. That level of fundamental disagreement, when it persists over decades, is a signal that something important has not yet been understood. The question is not which of these theories is right. The question is whether any of them is right, or whether the truth is something that none of the current frameworks has yet been able to capture. The case surrounding the Bermuda Triangle, myth, reality, and missing ships does not rest on speculation alone. What distinguishes this investigation from pure mythology is the existence of documented, physical, verifiable evidence, material that has been examined by credentialed researchers and whose authenticity is not seriously disputed. What is disputed is its interpretation. Let us review the most significant documented evidence as objectively as possible. We are not going to cherry-pick the data that supports a preferred conclusion. We are going to lay out what exists and let you draw your own assessment. Physical evidence supporting this account includes statistical analysis by Lloyd's of London found no elevated accident rate in the Bermuda Triangle relative to comparable ocean regions, which is the most direct evidence. See against the existence of an anomalous danger zone. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Investigators have documented the Gulf Stream's flow rate through the region, approximately 2 kilometers per hour, is sufficient to disperse floating wreckage over hundreds of miles within days of an accident, explaining why wreckage from some disappearances was never found. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. On-site analysis revealed meteorological records for the Bermuda Triangle confirm that the region experiences frequent sudden storms, waterspouts, and microbursts whose development can be too rapid for affected vessels to respond to, providing natural explanations for many reported disappearances. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Each individual piece of evidence might, in principle, be explained away. A single anomalous artifact might be misidentified. A single anomalous date might reflect contamination. A single anomalous eyewitness account might reflect misperception. The question is whether all of the evidence can be explained away, and whether the explanations required are more or less plausible than the evidence itself. When multiple independent lines of inquiry converge on the same conclusion, that convergence is the most powerful signal in empirical science. And that is exactly what we are seeing here. We have examined the history, the evidence, and the theories surrounding the Bermuda Triangle, myth, reality, and missing ships. Now we need to ask the question that is sometimes overlooked in discussions of ancient mysteries. Why does this matter? What does it mean for us today? It would be easy to file this away as an interesting historical curiosity, a puzzle from a distant past with no bearing on our present lives. That would be a fundamental mistake. The questions raised by this case touch on issues that are directly relevant to who we are, where we came from, and what the human story actually looks like before the period covered by conventional history. The Bermuda Triangle myth has largely been debunked in scientific circles while remaining culturally alive in popular consciousness. The lesson of the Triangle's history is one of cognitive bias, the human tendency to cluster coincidental events into meaningful patterns even when statistical analysis shows no pattern exists. The ocean is genuinely dangerous. Ships and aircraft do disappear, but the Bermuda Triangle has no monopoly on maritime disaster, and our fascination with it says more about us than about the sea. Furthermore, the tools available to investigate these questions are advancing rapidly. Satellite imaging, ground-penetrating radar, ancient DNA analysis, isotopic tracing, and deep-sea sonar are all providing capabilities that previous generations of researchers could only dream of. Cases that were genuinely unresolvable 10 years ago are now open to new analysis, and the findings, consistently, are expanding rather than contracting the mystery. The investigation continues. New discoveries are being made. New analyses are being published. New voices are entering the conversation from disciplines that were not previously part of the discussion. The answers, when they come, and they will come, will not merely solve a historical puzzle. They will force a fundamental revision of assumptions that underpin our entire understanding of human history and human potential. We have now walked through the complete case of the Bermuda Triangle, myth, reality, and missing ships, from the historical record through the physical evidence. Ask the competing theories and into the modern significance of what remains unresolved. What the story of Bermuda Triangle ultimately reveals is not just a historical puzzle. It is a mirror. It reflects our assumptions back at us, our assumptions about what ancient people were capable of, about how knowledge is gained and lost across the centuries, and about the relationship between what we know and what we merely think we know. The evidence presented in this documentary is real. The questions it raises are genuine. The debate among researchers is ongoing, and that is healthy. Science is not a set of conclusions. It is a process. And the process requires that we remain open to evidence that challenges what we thought we knew, however uncomfortable that challenge might be. If you came to this documentary as a skeptic, we hope the evidence gave you something to think about. If you came as a true believer, we hope the critical examination gave you a more nuanced picture. The truth, as always, lies in the evidence, not in what we want to be true. Thank you for watching. If this investigation sparked your curiosity, please subscribe to the channel. We publish new documentaries every week, covering the full range of historical mysteries that the mainstream has not yet adequately explained. Leave a comment below telling us which case you want us to investigate next. The conversation continues. The investigation never ends.